the title is a very long story. It goes like this. I turned to Ed one day when we were working on the script and I said, what should we call this? Ed thinks for about a second and a half and says, 30-something. I said, oh, okay. That was literally the entire conversation.
Wait, stop.
Oh, why are you stopping? Oh, no. It's not bad yet. She'll go back to sleep.
Coming out of film school, we had these grand ambitions of what we were going to do, but the work that we did somehow didn't measure it up at all to our own expectations or ideals.
This is really crucial because, in the world we live in now where everybody loves television so much, it's important to remember back to the days when television was described as the great wasteland. That's what it was. It was this routinized factory. And we each spent several years in this kind of freelance place in television, trying to fit into other people's expectations and voices and getting more and more frustrated by it. And I think really that's where 30-something came out of. It was an answer to that.
You're right. And one of the privileges of being a bunch of amateurs is we still have the illusion of doing our own work and having a little integrity, which I now see any further association with your business or in fact you personally would make me sick to my stomach and throw up!
A producer who I'd worked for came to me and said, would you like to have an overall deal in television? I said, well, what's an overall deal? He said, well, we guarantee you this much money per year, and all you have to do for that money is you have to try to sell a television series. Try. If you don't, you don't. It sounded to me like what he was saying was, I'll pay you now, but you don't really have to work much for the next year. It sounded like a great deal to me. So I said, can Ed come along too? He said, sure. So that was 1985, and we formed our company.
We spent many months sitting there saying, we don't want to do television. Why would we want to do television?
Television is bad.
Television is
movies
bad.
are good.
I've just had a movie come out. It did well. Why are we doing this?
This is the conversation. We said, what would be a show that we wouldn't mind doing, but would have no chance of ever going, because then we wouldn't have to do anything and we can go back and do movies. I said, why don't we do something about our generation? He said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I don't know. Just talk about the people we know. And like, this person's having a baby. This person's afraid to get married. And we both kind of went, is that a show? I don't get it. And so then we went home, because being in the office for 3 hours in those days was a lot for us. And we go back to Ed's house and we're talking to Ed's wife, Liberty. And she says, that's a great idea. What about Gary? And what about these various people? And she starts rattling off their stories that you could actually tell stories about, and
we looked at each other.
We looked at each other and we went,
that's good. That'll never sell.
That'll never sell.
How was work?
I never talk about work at home.
How was work?
Work is wonderful. Work is thrilling. I'm completely fulfilled and well paid.
2 days later,
we went to this meeting.
We go to ABC, and who's in the meeting? In the meeting are, everybody's in their 30s, like us. One of them is pregnant. One of them has little kids. They were the perfect demographic for the show.
And we wanted to talk about the smaller issues and of getting through the day and being in a relationship and having a partnership.
We talked about the word dialectic.
That's right.
That a lot of it had to do with the idea that you're supposed to be a grown-up, but you feel like a kid. You're supposed to make money, but you want to follow your heart. You want to be an idealist. You want to be in a relationship, but you're also attracted to other people. So the whole thing was about ambivalence.
This is just not according to plan.
Whose plan? Our lives are so full now. We have a wonderful baby that we love so much and who needs us.
Well, then why do I feel so terrible?
We said, we want to talk about what it feels like to be in the middle of that struggle. And there was this odd moment at the end where they said, well, why don't you let us think about it? And we went, okay. And we start walking down the hall and we get to the elevator, looking at each other going, I don't know. And Ed goes, oh shit, I forgot my keys. So he goes back. I didn't even go back. You went back. And he goes and he says, I forgot my keys. And they said, you know what? We want to do this.
Right, yeah, we had sold it in the room.
We don't have to think about it. We just wanted to make sure we all felt the same way.
We wrote it in about a week.
Yeah.
We gave it to them.
Yeah.
2 days later, we hear that they love it and they want us to do it
Yeah.
without even a second draft. We never
Boom.
wrote a second draft.
No, just go do it.
Just go do it, they said.
I don't want to be Elliot and Nancy. I don't want to be attracted to other women.
Are you attracted to other women?
Not really.
We show them the pilot. They're making all these noises about wanting to pick it up.
And we didn't say where we got up, and we took a
So
walk up Madison Avenue in this state of utter sort of bemusement. Like, is this even a good thing? What is this?
And we get a call that says, we want to put this show on the air with only one condition, if you're willing to change the title. And we look at each other and we say, no, we were all in.
But also, there was one other thing. At that point, we were still deeply ambivalent about doing a television series.
It's true.
We meant it. We meant it. We want to do this thing if it's great, but we really don't want to do a series.
If you can't,
And in fact,
if you won't do it on our terms, we won't
yes,
do it.
we won't do it. And we meant it.
What are we doing here? Why did we start this business?
To do our thing.
And then the night of the premiere came, and it was,
Well, it was, remember,
Yeah.
because we're in California,
yeah,
the early returns, as in an election, start coming in from the East
Yes.
Coast because it's aired 3 hours early.
yes. At 8 o'clock that night, the phone calls from the East Coast start coming in. But of course, it's our friends and our relatives,
Right.
and they're going crazy over it. I think the moment for me was the show airs, okay, at 11 o'clock, the ABC News comes on, and the female anchor of the ABC News has mascara running down her face. She's still sobbing, and she says, "Oh my God, that show 30-something was so incredible, I'm still crying." And that's when I went, oh geez, maybe we have something here.
I'm sorry. I admit it. I really liked our life. I liked the fact that you were beautiful. And I liked the fact that you were exciting. I liked the fact that you had a dirty mind. And you were there for me.
You're not always aware of that kind of Camelot when you're in the midst of it, because if you were, you wouldn't be experiencing it. But after the fact, there is some ability to look back and see a very halcyon moment.
I think that our parents got together in 1946 and said, let's all have lots of kids and give them everything that they want so they can grow up and be totally messed up and unable to cope with real life.
Listen, we lost 18 games in a row. And every game before the game, I had to make our team believe that we were going to win that game.